Well done. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, welcome to Seabase. Now, I'm very excited to be here on stage. And I would like to first of all thank the organizer for putting up this amazing event. Of course, I would like to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here today. Nevertheless, I would like to thank the people behind the screen that are watching us, whether if it's live or recorded. And just because you're here today, I would like to share with you a story. Now, don't get me wrong, this story is not unique or individual to me. Probably every self-taught cybersecurity practitioner can tell you the same thing. You know, although our job as cybersecurity practitioners are usually to read between the lines, to connect dots that no one had connected before, to make something new. But as we all know, two websites that can look completely identical would have completely different code and, not to mention, completely different logic. But right now, nobody is at work. You're not supposed to work out. So sit back, relax, enjoy. Let me do the hard work for you. So, hi, this is me. If you'll Google me, hi, you'll find out that besides giving your name tags in the entrance, I'm also named Tzouriel. I'm 34 years young, and for the last 8 years, I've been a self-employed massage therapist. I also won 2 medals from the International Massage Association. Wait a second. A massage therapist on a stage of a cybersecurity event? Is this a runtime or a logic error? Well, none of the above. The reasons why I'm standing here today cannot be found online, luckily. For many years, I spent more time with technology than sleeping. Of course, I assembled my own computer, my own workstation from spare parts my brother used to bring from work. Even more, I experienced the best time of technology, LAN parties. Who have been through a LAN party in his life? There we go. Fun, ain't it? The biggest problem in my time, it wasn't the huge cathode ray tube monitors. Even as a kid, carrying those 10-kilogram things was not a problem. The biggest problem was to find enough tables and cables that can contain all of the guys around. Of course, when I got my internet, when my mom connected our home to the World Wide Web, 2 days afterwards, you know what I got? Virus. Makes sense. That was the time. Of course, all of my cool friends had those hidden directories which are do not open. Well, I can assure you also the content of those directories wasn't from the cool type. Later on, I realized that I am just too much of an hyper person, and I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't sit in a chair for more than a few hours, so I had to look for different directions. Many years have passed. The passion for technology still remains. The good news is I'm not fixing my mom's printer anymore. Now I teach her how to Google. You know, email, sharing screen with Zoom. The funny thing is that I noticed that writing code and explaining things to my mom is quite similar because both of them need their own information written down in their own words. If not, there will be a problem, and you can definitely see that. Even more, when it comes to a lot of thinking and very, very deep understanding of the subject, they both tend to overheat. However, the biggest difference that my mom is not able to repeat the same action twice. True sentence. Literally, a true sentence my mom told me. Well, as I mentioned, and as Natalie mentioned, I want to be a cybersecurity practitioner. And what can I tell you, folks? That is a nut that is hard to crack. How would you even start? What makes a good hacker good? How do you earn a living from being a hacker? Of course, you can go rogue and go to Google and start search for vulnerabilities. You know, you find one, amazing. You succeeded to exploit it, even better. And now what? You're gonna put on your gray hat and say, here I come to save the day. I found a problem in your system. Now would you like to pay? Well, find it a bit skittish. You know, you can always go darker. You know, beat the best world black hacker, one which is everyone is afraid of you, and top secret agencies come and beg you for your help solving those cases. Well, those things happen only on the movies, just like you see viruses that have a GUI. So, if you want to be a black hacker, you should always remember the consequences. Kevin Metnick, for example, is known to be the world's best hacker. He spent two different occasions, he spent about 6 years in prison. Now, besides the time that he spent in prison, he was also avoiding the law and literally isolated himself from the environment. Nowadays, he's the perfect example for a white hacker. He helps companies to make their security better. If it was worth it, surviving through jail because he didn't also get phone calls because the judge was afraid that he would launch nuclear missiles. Regardless if it's true or not, this is a life story that you should think about if you want to go black. If you want to go legal, it might be a bit problematic because there are a few ways in which you can show the world and prove you know what you're doing. The first option is a bug bounty. A bug bounty is a platform that connects companies that want to test their code or digital products with hackers which want to hack things. Now, this subject is very, very complex since you need to know which kind of attacks you should do. You also need to be aware of which attacks you are prohibited. And not to mention, if you found something, you need to provide a proof of concept, which would be legally submitted. To explain to you how much I find this topic very complicated, I found this anecdote. What is the difference between a hacker and an ethical hacker? Bureaucracy. A second way to actually get acknowledged in a lot funner event is a CTF, a capture the flag. Basically a game in a digital environment where you will receive a link if it is a web, you would receive a file if it's a reverse engineering, and a hint with a text that can help you understand where you need to go. This is a picture from the second CTF 2022. This is a Jeopardy style, which you have a lot of questions and you should answer them. The flag, by the way, is a set of characters. If you do want to try this, I would totally recommend going to ctftime.org. This website updates on a regular basis, and practically every weekend you can find yourself in a competition. Two biggest advantages that most of the competition are actually free, and if you're in the same age as me, so without an age limit. The biggest problem with those CTFs is they are ridiculously hard. As a beginner, I participated approximately 6, and I solved 6%. Yeah, helpful, isn't it? And thank you for supporting. And it just means that you need to learn. If you want to prove the world that you've learned something, then society's standards to show you know something, it is a certification. Now, a certification, a human certification, is very similar to a machine certification because eventually someone just designs and prints a paper. And just like a machine certification, this will not get you anywhere. You need to make sure that society will acknowledge and will be familiar with this certification. So you have to choose correctly which kind of school you will learn. Although two of those certifications, which are involving pen testing, are quite advanced. So they require 2 years of experience. To learn to those certifications, you have a few ways. The conventional way is with a school or a boot camp, which in boot camp you will just cram a lot of information in your brain for a very short time. If your brain can actually understand, organize, and remember all of the information, I say go for it. If you can go to school and have time and financial resources, can be also a good example because someone can teach you and lead you the way and you will not ending up 3 days in a row bugging a problem which is not involving the hack itself. If you don't have those options, I found out that if you go online, you can actually categorize the options into 3. A learning platform is very general. It provides a lot of information from infos to walkthroughs that you can simply walk through the room and exploit the machine, or you can fight with other people on the same machine. You can build rooms, and you can also enjoy the time over there. I would recommend Try Hack Me. Try Hack Me is perfect for beginners because it provides all of the information needed. Please check it out. Second option is a website. It's literally someone that's built a website that you will be able to hack and penetrate. Most of the attacks that you should know are actually web-related, just like the XSS. The third option is the load and hack. Now, load and hack are standalone applications that you can download and simply load on your VM, on your local host. It is very useful because you can hack the machine when you're offline. I would recommend the following. The Juice Shop, which is a JavaScript-based, it has a list that you can actually see which kind of attacks you should use. Every attack is categorized into a few difficulties, and every difficulty have its own scoreboard. So you can follow up and see what is going to be, how good you became. The second option is the Metasploitable, which is very good for beginners. It's a Linux-based that you can also root, and it contains funny vulnerabilities like an anonymous login from an FTP, or you can even open up a backdoor. In the same way that we will talk about the load and hack, there is something that you have to know. VulnHub, as you can see, is telling in its website that most of the content that is being uploaded haven't been scanned. That means you might download something which is not safe. Because we all know that freeware is something which can be very dangerous because someone needs to make money in this world. And in this case, people uploading their machines that they will be able to hack, and it's not everything being tested. So keep in mind, when you download stuff online, you need to pay attention what you're downloading, especially when it's involving hackers. One of the most important skills a hacker should use is the ability to search. Because we search everything. We search for target, exploits, information, anything. And it is very important to be able to locate the needle in the haystack. A skill which is less talked about is to make the haystack as small as possible. And this is why we have search operators. Because search operators will help Google understand exactly what you want. Maybe you want Berlin the city, or you want Berlin the name from the House of Cards. It all depends what you want to get. Because if you will tell Google exactly what you want to get, you will receive what you need. Now, in the same breath that we are talking about those search operators, I want to open up the door to make people realize how hacker thinks. Because if you would search in Google for a path of a familiar path in the Linux system, for example, you know a directory that contains passwords. So eventually, if you would write down this in the search engine, eventually you will get a massive scan of a local file inclusion. And this is how hacker thinks. They take functions that everybody uses on a regular basis, but the actions that they will do with this information afterwards is completely not normal. Along with the search operators, you can also solve one of the problems with the online platforms or any kind of online exercise. You can actually exclude an option. So you can be a little bit more of a live hack, a real life scenario. Now, if you come to think about it, there are two entities that use code. One of them are machines, like computers, wash machine, the arcade machine we all know. The second one are human, like us, and people like my mom. Of course, the best documentation in the world can be an IKEA manual, where you can just look on everything and understand what goes where. Sadly, our profession is a lot more technical orientated and is a lot more difficult. So we need a lot more information. Just to print pictures is not enough. In any case, you would find out the documentation, the explanation to people what they're supposed to do with the code, it is everywhere. The smallest type is a comment where you simply describe what's going to be the next paragraph of code. Now, we all know that those comments are there just to help other people understand what our code does. Because we know exactly what our code is doing, even if you wake us up in the middle of the night, you know. We know it. Now, the documentation can be very hard and very technical, that they contain a lot of information. It can be very frustrating to not find your answer directly and directly go to Stack Overflow. But keep in mind that the best minds that made this app or hacking tool or programming language, you name it, they wrote the documentation to help you understand how to handle with their own baby, you can say it, how to handle with it, how to make the best out of it. And if you wrote a few lines of code in your life, you probably know also the code's ugly sister, the debugging. This can be also a very annoying process, but it works eventually because you understand that the problem was not in the computer. In any case, if you are in a special scenario that you haven't found your information in the documentation, you would probably go to the Stack Overflow. One of the biggest problems that you see in Stack Overflow, especially for beginners, that there is a lot of content and a lot of information is being missing. Because we want to help the other people. This is the concept of a community. But what happens if the information is being given and is not enough? So when you write down and you do decide to post something online, make sure you write down all of the important details, you know. If it is a code situation, you should probably write down all of the code that's related. You should also add the error log, and please read it before you even post it. It is kind of like, Gesundheit. Imagine yourself when you're going to eat a burger. You like burgers, right? Yes, good. Imagine yourself, you're going to get yourself your burger. You made a reservation online. You're going to pick it up because you want it warm. You want it nice. How would the guy in front of you would know which hamburger is yours? You cannot just go inside into the shop and say, I ordered a burger. You need to give details. You need to be precise. You need to be accurate. You can imagine yourself if you cannot go and if you can't figure out what you want to write and what you need to explain, go through other questions. See what are the other questions, why the other questions are not related to your topic, why this question cannot answer your problem. You can even start right down with a draft, you know. Put some information, edit it, If you have a problem talking, you can always go for the second option. It's called the rubber ducky. Now, I know you were not talking about the normal rubber ducky. We're talking about rubber ducky. You just have to explain the rubber ducky, which is not so technologically competent. What is the problem? He can help you to understand exactly how you should say it. And now, it is the time to be a person. Forget all the technology. Forget all the technicalities. We're going to talk about motivation and what keeps you motivated. Because it is a hard profession. You will find out that you will stuck your head inside the wall many times without even knowing if you're on the right path to hacking a system. So have a look. These are a possibility to get a job as a cybersecurity practitioner. Go to Google, see what you need to learn, because even if you want to learn a programming language, which you should know how to read, write, and explain basic code syntax. But every profession has its own speciality. A malware analyst will probably need a lot more C language. A web penetration will probably need a little bit more JavaScript. If we do talk about programming language, I will tell you this. The best tip that I can give you, if you are talking with other developers or programmers, unless you know the opinion of the other side, never say HTML is a programming language. So, to finish this, again, I would like to thank all of you that you were here. Don't hesitate. Develop, advanced, and you have to keep it in mind and try to be like the internet from the 90s. You remember that? It doesn't matter how long, it doesn't matter how stressful, it doesn't matter how slow the process would be. Eventually, you would have done it. Just like the internet. Again, the internet back in the days used to transfer a bit by bit, a little bit, a little bit. Eventually, you got the entire file transferred. So you should have that as well. Have a bit of motivation, and not a bit of motivation. Eventually, you will have a terabyte of motivation. And I tell you, you can do this.